So hey there, this is Beth, the Sweet Urban Living Lady, and in this series, in this video, I'm going to be making herbal salves, but I'm making a series of do-it-yourself projects using essential oils and herbs at home. And this particular process takes the stovetop. You need a stovetop, you need heat, because in this do-it-yourself video, I'm making herbal salves. I just got back from this fantastic weekend, what we call our weekends away, with friend and colleague Judy Masters, and we had an herbal boot camp. This is some of the swag that we gave away this particular weekend. And while we were there this weekend, we went on an herb walk through the forest. We made flower essence remedies. We made sugar scrubs and coffee scrubs. We did tinctures. We did all kinds of things. It was immersive. We got our hands in, we got involved, we got messy. And yeah, I've got my other camera right here because we've got this double boiler. And I've already got the water heating up. And what we need for this is we want to use some already infused oils that have been strained. So in this particular video, we are going to create some salves. And so I have here this salve that we made over the weekend, which includes cayenne infused oil with cat's claw infused oil. And we use a little bit of beeswax, and then we blend them together and we let them sit. We also made some calendula salve oil, but I didn't have any of those left over from the weekend. I do have some of the infused oil. So if you haven't seen me do an infusion, the idea is basically the same. I'll drop a link to my website where I'll have a recipe for infused oils and tinctures and things like that. You can just go there and go to my basic recipe. Herbalists have basic recipes they use all the time. So it's going to be similar to others. I got mine from Phil Fritchie, a fabulous herbalist, no longer with us, but he's got a book, Practical Herbalism, and I'll drop a link to that below. It is a fabulous book and I love it. It's very practical. And so a lot of my information that I have gotten over the years is from him. I love Stephen Horn. I also love his book, The Modern Herbal Dispensatory. I'll drop a link to that one too, because there's just so much information on the herbs and how to make your own salves and tinctures and things like that. But here we are in my kitchen, and what I have is where we've infused. So as you see on the label, we had 4.4 ounces of cayenne powder. We blended it with 70 ounces. That's a plus or minus because I filled it up according to the jar, made sure everything was covered. So about 70 ounces of organic extra virgin olive oil. We had the cat's claw, same idea, and then the calendula. So we're going to make our do-it-yourself salves. And one of the things I like about do-it-yourself salves is the creativity behind it. You get to explore the different herbs that work for you. Now, there are lots of books out there. There are lots of recipes online. Take it, try them, see what you like. I'll add my recipes that I used for this video in the link below. It'll be on my website. The first step in making your salves is making your infused oils. So I've mentioned the Herbal Boot Camp that we were on a few times because I had already prepared these for the event that when we were away. And what I did is I got these extra large jars because we had about 20 people coming. We didn't know who was going to want to do what, so we wanted to be sure we had extra. And I knew if we had extra, I could use them at home. So the first thing that you do when you're making an infused oil or a tincture is you fill your jar full of your herbs. And then you cover your herbs with your oil, or if you're making a tincture, with your vodka or your Everclear, your brandy, whatever menstruum you want to use. Now I have those recipes. I have a basic herbal tincture recipe on my website that I'll drop the link to below. And it's the same idea, using oil or vodka or whatever menstruum you want to use. You put your herbs in, you cover them with your oil or your alcohol or your wine or your apple cider vinegar, and you let them sit. Now, some herbalists prefer that they sit in a dark room for 4 weeks. Some put them in the sun and stir them twice a day for 2 weeks. I like the 2-week method. I've let them sit for 4 weeks, and sometimes I've had some very bitter tinctures on my hand. So when you do that, let's say this jar is full, you're going to make sure they're well covered so that there's nothing, none of the herb is showing. Make sure they're well covered. And then what you want to do is twice a day, you want to just go in and stir your herbs. Make sure that, you know, there's nothing stuck to the bottom. Stir it up, just like that. Twice a day. After 2 weeks, you strain out the herbs, and the oil or the tincture that you have left is what you use. It's so easy. So for our weekend, we did the cayenne and cat's claw together. We did the calendula by itself. And since I've been home, I have all kinds of stuff at home, but this particular one, the cat's claw and cayenne blend, Mr. Sweet is loving this. He was aching and hurting so badly when he got home last night. And I'm like, okay, let me rub some of this on your back. His right knee was swollen. He's had surgery on it years ago. It tends to be swollen if he has to put his knee on the ground. And I am telling you what, he loved it. He was like, I was walking around and I was having to be very careful how I moved. And he's like, I was having to be careful. And after I rubbed that on his back, he was like, oh my goodness, this is incredible. I'm moving so much more freely now. Y'all, these things really do work. So I've got my water boiling. As you can see, it's heating up nicely. And because we are using oils, we want to be careful that we don't heat them up. If you have a gas stove, please be careful, because oil and fire, if not attended, can be tricky. As I have mentioned on several occasions, I have lots of different measuring cups because I'm going to be blending several different oils together. And so I want to have plenty on hand so that I don't mix my oils, right? So if I want to do a little bit different blend, which I do, I can do that. I can actually hear that boiling. So I'm going to slow that down so it doesn't overheat. So I have a double boiler on my stove. I've gotten the water nice and warm, and you do, please be careful. You don't want to get the oils too hot. You want to watch them, and as the oils warm up, we're going to add beeswax as our thickener. Now I've got beeswax beads in here. Okay, so we had our Herbal Boot Camp, and in here I share the recipe that I use. And again, it is based on Phil Fritchie's book, but it is for every 4 ounces of liquid oil, we are going to use a 1/2 ounce of beeswax. So if y'all are, I have a few copies of this left. I will put this on my website if anybody is interested and would like to order a copy. Okay, so a half an ounce of beeswax is 1 tablespoon. So the first thing I want to do is, one of my granddaughters has problems with skin, eczema and things like that. Especially gets bad if there are allergens in the air. It makes it worse. So what I'm going to do is I want to make some calendula, and I'm going to do at least 8 ounces. So that's 1 cup. These are 2 cup measuring cups. 1 cup of my calendula. Okay. Now I am going to put my measuring cup that I used for the calendula in front of the calendula. So that's going to warm up. And we want it warm. We don't want it, we don't want it boiling or anything. It's kind of warm. So we're going to I did 1 cup, which is 8 ounces. So that means I need 2 tablespoons of my beeswax. I'm using a 1/2 tablespoon measure. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Break that up a little bit more. Okay, and as I mentioned in my other do-it-yourself videos in this series that I'm doing, using herbs and essential oils to make bath and body products, I mentioned if you're doing this for yourself, then you know you're a home herbalist, you're a home aromatherapist. You don't have to worry about exacts. If you're doing this for a hobby craft that you want to sell, like maybe you want to go down to the local market in town and set up a booth or something like that, you have to make sure that you're following the laws of your state, your town, your county, maybe even your homeowners association. If you live in a homeowners community, may or may not allow certain things in your community. And certain states allow you to make so much, and if you make more money than that, you're no longer considered a hobbyist. And if you're doing things with herbs and products at home, you may have to take a class before you can do it. All kinds of different things. So the thing is we're looking at with our making our salves is we're wanting this to get thickened. So I've blended this in and we want it to thicken. And the cool thing about being a home herbalist is if you need to add a little bit more beeswax, you add a little bit more beeswax. If you need to add a little bit more oil, you add a little bit more oil. If you're manufacturing this to sell, you want to make sure that you have your measurements on your labels. The government cares, and that's good. We want to protect our consumers. So there's nothing wrong with that. As a consumer, you want to know that you're getting what you paid for and what it says on the label, and it doesn't have something in it that doesn't agree with you or something like that. Okay, so now I was going to move over to my workbench, but I think what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to move my bottles over here. As I've mentioned in other videos, I really do prefer glass jars, and you can get these on Amazon. Now, I just did an herbal weekend away. Like I said, we were immersed. We had we had 20 signed up and a couple couldn't make it, so we had 18. It was fabulous. Doing this is so much fun because you get to know the people that you're there with. It's not this big group that you get lost in. And even the ones who come in shy and unsure and they're going, oh, I don't know about this, they come away going, wow, that was the best thing ever. I really enjoyed it. Being in a small group made me more comfortable, and they got to really be a part. Okay, so I left that on the heat while I went and got my jar. So I'm moving that off the heat because what I want to do is I want to set up my jars. So as you can see here, I bought a big lot, about 48, a thing with 48. Okay, so I've got my liquid with the beeswax beads. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add some vitamin E oil to the liquid. And it's about 2 drops for every ounce. So if 8 ounces, that's 16 drops. Let's just kind of stir that. Okay, so what I'm going to do now that I've got my calendula with my beeswax and my vitamin E oil as a preservative, which is also great for the skin, I'm going to pour in, because I want to try just the calendula by itself. I've used it before, but I'm also going to mix in some with some lavender because I want to see, when I say try it, I want my granddaughter to try it. I want to see if she likes the one that is just the plain calendula or if the lavender helps, because lavender is also very good for the skin. It really does help to have an extra set of arms, but because I want to be sure I'm pouring this well, let me get like this. because I don't want to overfill. Okay, 2. All right. And now I'm going to take my lavender essential oil, and I'm going to add, because I should have at least 4 ounces, if not more. I'm going to, so a dilution that's safe for children is 5 drops for every ounce. That's the safety dilution, even though lavender has a higher ratio than that. For children, we want to keep it. So I'm just going to add 20 drops. Okay, so that's about 20 drops. And now I'm going to take that. And what I'm going to do before I pour that in, I'm going to take these little guys right here that make nice little covers. And I'm going to label these and put the date on, because this is just calendula. Now what I'm going to do with these is I'm actually going to put these in the refrigerator so that they will harden. And I can see that it's getting hard on the side here. Can you see? You can see that? I don't know if you can see that. The drip, it's like it's getting hard. It's turning white. So I definitely want to go ahead and get this with the lavender essential oil and kind of stir that up, because yeah, that bottom's getting a little, I don't really have the double boiler on, but it's still a little bit warm. There we go. Yeah, it's starting to it's starting to thicken, which is good. The beeswax is doing its job, but I want it a little bit thinner for the moment. We're not getting it super hot. It's not going to mess up the vitamin E. It's not going to mess up the lavender. So it's fine. Just want to make sure that I'm getting all of my oily goodness, my essential oil goodness, my infused herbs goodness. I want to get it all. Don't want to leave any of it behind at all, right? Okay, so yeah, that's kind of setting that up. All right, so let's pour that one in. Yeah, that one's a little bit, because I let it sit while I was doing the other stuff, which is fine. It's not a problem. Just be aware of what's going on. All right, these are going to be a little bit more full than the other ones. I didn't actually measure them out perfectly. Again, if you're doing this for arts and crafts, if you're selling them, please be precise. The home herbalist, hand grenades and horseshoes, close enough is fine. But the herbalist who, you're selling art, at the craft store, you need to be precise. All right, so I'm going to put those on. And oh my goodness, that's some yumminess right there. So what I'm going to do, because I really don't like wasting, is I'm going to take and scrape out what is in my double boiler into my measuring cup for myself. Because it's really not enough to fill a jar. It's not enough to fill a jar. I should have filled those first 2 jars up a little bit more. But I can take that and use that for myself. And I am, because it's fabulous. So what I'll do is, after this has a chance to, after we film this, and this has, you know, we're filming it, we'll give it a chance to set, the jars, and I'll get my daughter-in-law to try this for my granddaughter and give a report back, and I'm going to use it on my skin too. I mean, this is fabulous stuff. Don't let it go to waste. Okay, see how easy it is. Now, I've got some others that I want to do. Oh, you know what I forgot? One of the things to do is I'm going to open this back up, because a lot of times people will also take, like, I have calendula flowers that I have in bulk, and they'll take and add it. Just take some petals and either blend it in, or they'll add it to the top just like that to give it a pretty appearance so that it solidifies. You've got it on there. I'm going to wash that one. Okay, we are back for part 2 of making our herbal salves. So we've made our calendula and our calendula with lavender essential oil herbal salves. I've put those into my refrigerator to get them chilling. They don't have to, because as we noticed as I was doing the cleanup, that beeswax was causing them to harden. So I've got the pan nice and warm, and I'm going to save my cat's claw. I've got cat's claw and cayenne together. This time I'm actually going to do calendula again, and I'm going to do 4 ounces. Get over here so y'all can see me pouring 4 ounces of my calendula. So we already have a muscle rub with cayenne and cat's claw. I already told you it seems to be working really well for my husband. And so we could just go with that. But the beauty of having so many varieties of plants and herbs is that we get to use different plants and herbs. We don't want to sit down, most of us don't want to sit down and have the same exact meal over and over and over again. And the same is true for using herbs. Using different herbs, different salves can be amazing. So I'm going to do 4 ounces of calendula and 4 ounces of our strained cayenne. Okay, so these have already been strained. They were infused. They sat for 2 weeks. So this is a nice pink. We're blending it with a beautiful yellow. We're just going to get those warmed up. I'll save my cat's claw for another project. I have spatulas galore. I really, really like the spatulas that are silicone, because when you're scraping the sides of something, it helps you get the sides and get a cleaner, a nicer cleanup, as opposed to, you know, a cooking spatula like this where, you know, don't use that. So we're going to get that nice and warm, just like we did before. We're going to add our beeswax, and I have 8 ounces. So that is 2 tablespoons. Let's see if that's not quite. There we go. Yeah, it's kind of warm. Okay, so of course, I'm going to rub that into my arms instead of wiping that off. My arms are going to thank me later today. Nice and soft. Woohoo! Save some for the legs. All right, 1. That's 1 tablespoon. 2 tablespoons. Come on out. That's not coming out. Come on. There we go. And if we want it just a little bit thicker, we can add a little bit more. Okay. So we're going to kind of just stir that in. See, we're just stirring it in, getting those beeswax beads to melt. That's a little bit too hot. I don't even need to have that on anymore, because that's doing very nicely. Okay, so these are, just letting that finish warming up. This is going to be cayenne. And, oh, I can feel my arms getting warm from putting the and calendula. And the good thing is it's not hot. It doesn't burn. It's just warming up. It's just bringing the blood to the surface of my arms, which is very healing. And I think I may add some lavender drops to that as well. So I'm going to remove that from the heat. I'm going to move that back so we have room so that y'all, so as I put this down, we can see what we're doing, right? All right, so we've added that. We're going to add our E. As a preservative. In all honesty, we probably don't need to add vitamin E oil to anything that has the cayenne oil in it, because cayenne is what I call an anti-everything, and hardly anything would dare to live in this. But I am going to go ahead now. In the other one, we didn't add any essential oils. It was an herbal weekend, so we focused on herbs rather than bringing in essential oils. But salves and essential oils go together very nicely, so I am going to add some lavender. Just added 12 drops. So that's, like just 3 drops per ounce. I don't want the lavender to overpower what I'm doing here. I've already made my labels. So let me get a funnel for this. This is still a little hotter than the other one was. So let me get over here so we can pour and you can see, and I can see too. And since these are all the same, I don't have to stop and add the lavender. We're going to just, ooh, that one's a little too full. Doing this sideways makes it a little harder to see how much is going in, but that's okay. I am not sure how I'm measuring 1 cup and dividing it by 4 2-ounce jars and having some left over, even though, yeah, 2 tablespoons of beeswax, that just seems like a whole lot more than 2 tablespoons. Okay, well, I did add some vitamin E and some lavender. Okay, so now we just put the tops on. I had to wash the one that fell on the floor. This is still really warm. My hands are very oily. So since this is so hot and my hands are really oily, I think what I may do is wash my hands, put things away, and reset up on the other table. Okay, so there you go. That was our 3rd project in our do-it-yourself, our DIY bath and body projects using herbs and essential oils. For this one, we made some salves. Now, this is the one we made at our Herbal Boot Camp, but this is the one that's the Cayenne and Cat's Claw that Mr. Sweet loves. We expanded on that when we made, so with this one I have Cayenne Calendula infused oils with lavender essential oil. This one is calendula and lavender essential oil, and this one is just pure calendula. Would you share some of your recipes with me in the comments? Because I do love exploring and trying new things. So leave a comment, share with me your favorites, maybe some things that worked, maybe some things that didn't. And if you try any of these recipes that I'm sharing, give me some feedback. Let me know how you liked it. When I put that cayenne rub on my arms, I could feel it warming up, which is good. It's not hot. It didn't burn. It just started to bring the blood to the surface. And so that means that the body is circulating the blood better, bringing it here to my arms and helping my arms to be nice and soft and heal. And so just imagine what it can do for the muscle aches and pains that you might have, or joint pains, things like that. Calendula is great for the skin. We're going to give it a try for my granddaughter, see how that works. I also tend to have a little bit of some skin issues behind my ears, so I'm going to try the calendula as well. And what I'll do is I'll report back and let you know how it goes. So there we go. Today in my do-it-yourself projects, I made air freshener for the bathroom. I made an original faux potpourri. And then I tried my own hand at orange and cinnamon. I like both of those. We made shower gels for Mr. and Mrs. Sweet. And we made our herbal salves. Did anybody notice my Sweet Urban Living shirt? This is just part of what you can do in your Sweet Urban Living life.